Oh, I want you to know, it is about a minute after I ended the last video. Hi. So here's the thing. About a week ago, or a little over a week ago, I broke the pinky toe on my right foot. And as I was walking back here after starting the video, I kicked something with my right foot. And, whew, boy, that toe. Huh. So, how you doing? Mazel tov. We're having coffee. We're sitting down to read. I never took my reading glasses off after the last video. We're sitting down to read my philosophical memoir that I got a little coffee on, Climbing Maya, an exploration into success. What is success? We're finding out reading. And I hope you'll join us for the reading of the second half of chapter 7. Now, we ended the reading the last time with a quote from the Gospel of Thomas, from the 113th passage of the Gospel of Thomas, that ended with the words, "The kingdom of heaven is spread out upon the earth, and men do not see it." That was your call to action. So let's continue. It's that same ineffable, eternal quality of success. It's Sean's not being able to see his success, maybe mine as well. I've often said that being able to work as a writer was for me a great blessing, even if it was marketing and technical writing. But that caveat demeans the whole thing. Are the small successes just as valuable as the big ones? No, I wasn't buying that. Success may have a sacred quality, there's something to that, but the minute I break successes down into hierarchies, I lose track of the one success I'm looking for, the successful life. I don't want to achieve this thing or that thing. I want my life to be successful. And yet Thomas's passage sits there telling me it doesn't matter. It's out there. I'm just looking in the wrong place. And I've been looking. This is something that has bothered and worried at me for decades. It's worn me down until I'm left looking back on the first half of my life like it was some kind of a conspiracy stolen from me. Nothing achieved. The only thing I have is the knowledge that I'm still looking. So many have given up. All the writers I knew who were once my peers have put their dreams aside for family, normality, even common, everyday peace of mind. Vicky knew what she was in for when she married me, and aside from my constant jabber about whatever book I'm working on at the time, it hasn't been all bad. Okay, that's not entirely true. There is one more thing. Some of these things are hard to read out loud. I focus more on my failures than anyone I know. I honestly try not to, but in searching for success, I can't help noticing the burning wrecks I've left on the sides of the road. Vicky has to hear about this from me as I provide her every example of every failure. It can't be easy for her. Maybe I should look towards my Buddhist teachings and see what they have to tell me. I've always had a problem explaining Buddhism to people I know. I think this is primarily a cultural thing. By the way, if you would like me to explain Buddhism, that's all in another book called, um, I can't remember the name, Illumination. You're welcome. It's already been a long day and it's only the morning. So, I've always had a problem explaining Buddhism to people I know. I think this is primarily a cultural thing. Buddhism is often misunderstood as, or I should say, in a society where the typical spiritual indoctrination includes a personal God and a personal pan pizza. Imagine having a personal God. I get one, you get one. It's just so stupid. Basically, we love to anthropomorphize. Worse, though, is getting people to understand that Buddhists do not worship Buddha. For me, Buddhism has been more of a philosophy than a religion. At its core is this: all life is suffering. After my divorce, this wasn't too hard to understand. But even beyond that, it's clear, from the child starving in the third world to the child starving in the first world, from violence in the Middle East to violence in the Midwest, suffering is rampant. Vicky thinks this is a negative viewpoint, but it isn't. It's reality. And even in the West, we know it because it's in our platitudes. Take the good with the bad. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Then there's the ever-famous life's a bitch, and then you die. By the way, just parenthetically, there may be viewers who wonder how the kingdom of heaven may be spread around us while all life is suffering. It takes some thought. It takes some work. You're going to get there. You got to work on it. The thing about Buddhism is it isn't nihilism. Life suffering is accepted so you can find a way out of it. After acceptance, the way to free yourself from suffering is to understand that suffering comes from desire. Putting an end to desire puts an end to suffering. I never said it was easy. In fact, I've spent years starting down this road, and I don't know if I'll ever make it there. Buddhism never pretends to be easy. It simply is. And the level of difficulty is up to you. Some help is given in the Eightfold Path. First, right viewpoint. This means realizing that suffering ends with the cessation of desire. Second, right intentions. Intending to do the right thing is tough, but you can't do the right thing without first having the intention to do so. Third, right speech, not lying, not being verbally abusive or speaking out of turn. Fourth, right actions, causing no harm whenever possible. Fifth, right livelihood, making sure you're doing some good with your life while doing well in your career. Sixth, right effort, always striving for improvement. 7, right mindfulness, seeing the world as it is, not avoiding reality. 8, right concentration, training your mind to concentrate on constructive, creative, rather than destructive things. I won't lie to you. That's a lot. And the thing that struck me as odd, when I first saw the Eightfold Path, was how compatible it is with the teachings of Jesus Christ. Now, it probably wouldn't be easy to be Christian while following the Buddhist way. The arguments against Buddhism by the Catholic Church alone are a matter of historic fact. But this realization brought me some comfort, considering how impossible it seemed. Buddhist teachings don't end there. That's just the beginning. But you see where it's going. In my own life, I appreciated their consistency rather than the Western attitude of finding excuses around thou shalt not kill or love thy enemy. Buddhism is straightforward and down to earth. The Buddha, whose name means awakened one, was originally named Siddhartha Gautama and came to this enlightenment through a lot of thinking, meditating, and self-discovery. But in a story that's fairly easy to tell, Buddha sat beneath a tree and said, I'm not getting up until I figure things out. You know what? I'm gonna ask you for a moment of your time and just for a little bit of patience. I've got something to show you. Hold on. Hi. So, this is my Buddha. Actually, we have a few. This was my first Buddha. This Buddha was purchased in Hawaii at a street kiosk. And it's very special to me because there are a lot of Buddhas that are made as statues. A lot of Buddha statues out there. I talk so well. There are plenty, but there was only one that I wanted. And this is the one that I wanted. This is called the touching earth pose. I don't know if I'm getting this in the shot well, so I apologize. This is touching earth. His hand, if you'll notice, comes down and is touching the earth. Why is that? This is the moment at which Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, said, I am not leaving on this spot right here. I'm not going anywhere until I know. That's a powerful symbol. And it means a lot to me because in my own life, I have had to tell myself I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to have cake. I'm not going to have a party. I'm not going to do anything until I get it. I can respect that. And that is partially why I'm a Buddhist, because I can respect that. I can respect someone saying, I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to get it right now. Not somebody who gets it from his father. Okay, so anyway, hi, Christians. Any viewers left? So he said, I'm not getting up until I figure things out. He was trying to find freedom from desire. He wanted to find the answer. He really wanted to get to the bottom of... Wait a minute. He desired freedom from desire. That's enough to give you a brain cramp. It's almost like what they say about Jesus taking on the suffering of the entire world, because if all suffering stems from desire, and he desired to end suffering, let's stop there before we can't get out of this rabbit hole. In striving, is striving for success just bound to bring misery? Is that the angst that I feel all the time, wanting to be successful, but not getting there? I guess the answer is obvious, isn't it? If I didn't drive myself crazy trying to find success, I might not be crazy. But I also might not find success. You can't stop. You just can't give up. Maybe it's safe to say you can be aware that desire brings suffering and accept that you're just gonna suffer. Life doesn't have to be painful, but sometimes life just is. And while Buddhism teaches detachment from desire, I don't think it would be disingenuous to suggest that you have to desire detachment to find it. Perhaps that's our first clue. The reason success isn't easy. Once you begin looking for success, you open yourself up to suffering. The Buddha once said about enlightenment, or the state of nirvana, that once you find it, you realize you already had it. You always had it. It's a secret hidden in plain view, easy to see, like the kingdom of heaven spread out upon the earth. But it's hiding in plain sight somehow, and you just don't see it. This sounds a lot like what Thomas's gospel said. I shouldn't have hinted, it was right in the book. Men do not see it. The same message coming from different parts of the globe and through different times. And strangely enough, success may work the same way. Right there, all along. But even I had a hard time imagining how that would make any sense. I'm successful without knowing I'm successful? Have I been successful all this time? Am I successful without a job? Is Megan successful in her condition? Sick? Wasting away? Is Tim successful drowning in booze? No, that can't be right. And yet, a story about Winston Churchill comes to mind because we all love Winston Churchill stories. Wow, there's a lot more pages. I have been reading for a while. This has been going on. Anyway, a story about Winston Churchill comes to mind, unbidden. He was giving a speech for a graduation ceremony at Oxford University. He walked up to the podium, stared at the graduating class, and shouted, "Never give up." Just those 3 words. Then he paused for a few seconds, fixing the crowd with his famous bulldog glare, and shouted once again, "Never give up." Then he walked away from the podium, having delivered the message he was sure the class needed to succeed. Never give up. Would giving up bring failure? And if so, that implies that in the act of not giving up, success was always theirs. Buddhism is incredibly optimistic. It also teaches that everything is moving towards enlightenment. Every person is moving towards enlightenment. You could say this is out of self-interest. After all, who wouldn't want to be enlightened? From an evolutionary aspect, it's bound to have benefits. Every animal moves towards enlightenment. Every cat, every tree, every rock, every computer, every kitchen table, everything and every time is moving toward enlightenment. Anthropomorphizing isn't owned by the Western world, after all. Enlightenment is sacred, and the moving toward enlightenment is also sacred. This means that every person's life, every life moving towards enlightenment is sacred. Every gerbil, dog, parakeet, cockroach, stool, garbage can, everything is sacred, since everything is moving toward enlightenment. Everything has the potentiality for enlightenment, so every potentiality is sacred. And that brings me back to success. I have to chuckle as I realize that this angst, this tension or desire for success is also, in a way, sacred. It's the most irritating thing in my life, this desire telling me I should do more, that I should accomplish something while I'm unemployed and not contributing a dime to help my wife pay the bills. And it's supposed to be sacred. Is it any wonder religion and I can never see eye to eye? I try, I really do. But I tend to overanalyze things. Faith is trust in the dark, and I always end up looking for the light switch. How can I know Buddhist teaching so well and yet have its meaning escape me? I could teach it, but I can't be it. Vicky can be it. She'd make a wonderful Buddhist. Her support through all this loss of my job mess has been amazing. She's let go of what we thought would happen, where we thought we'd be in our lives, and has accepted the reality of the situation with no complaints. I can't accept it because acceptance to me means surrender. How does she accept without surrendering? Is this another case of theory and practice? When I talk to Vicky about Buddhism, her eyes glaze over, and yet she can accept things in life that I cannot. She can let go of her desires in ways I can't imagine. In theory and practice, Vicky and I are very different. And yet both of us refuse to surrender. We're not losing our house without a fight. We'll find a way. I know this because I've got this stupid angst, this drive for success burning inside my gut. Vicky knows because, as I've said, she somehow gets it. Two paths to the same end. I have my angst. She has her acceptance. They might be opposites. They might even contradict each other. But they are equally sacred in their own ways. And I have this strange feeling that their opposition is an illusion. What's the difference between the two if they keep you in the fight, in the struggle for your life? Maybe my striving for success isn't acceptance. Maybe it could even be seen as a negative aspect of acceptance. Or maybe it's because we don't see beyond the negative aspect, that we can't see it as it really is. The sensation of becoming, this is me, this is my life. I have only one opportunity to make it the best I can. It's acceptance. It's desire. It sure as hell ain't enlightenment. In fact, it makes my head spin. I drove home from San Diego, no closer to helping Tim and readying myself for my phone interview with the state unemployment office. At any other time in my life, I might have found some of this funny. But now it tasted bitter and rank. And even as I drove back up the freeway, I knew it was neither. That's what acceptance is all about. I'm not some hero struggling for greatness. I'm just a guy who lost his job. and whose friend lost his way. I didn't dare think about Sean and Megan, though I'd hear from them soon enough. The letter I opened from the California Employment Development Department stated that I'd receive a phone call on Monday, August 28th, between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. The phone interview was supposed to take half an hour. So I woke up, readied myself, and waited. I had my defense ready, knowing I'd need one if Sean and my own paranoia were to be believed. Simply put, I was fired without cause and without warning. I knew my employer wouldn't be able to show any record of warnings or any cause. I had my only review on June 1st, weeks before I was dismissed. Nearly every heading showed that I was contributing and that I showed potential, job knowledge, getting up to speed with understanding new technology and using new tools to create marketing material. His biggest challenge has been adapting to a new culture. Productivity. Has been good at multitasking and juggling multiple demands on his time. Has been helpful in pitching in and helping where needed. Communication. Is a good writer and has shown good initiative in redesigning catalogs and operation manuals. Customer focus. Is always ready to help and takes pride in his work. I felt my positive record was unquestionable. Then I noticed something I hadn't seen before. I overlooked the comments written by my boss, at best backhanded compliments, probably because I didn't want to stir up any problems in an otherwise shining review. For instance, written under job knowledge, his biggest challenge has been adjusting to a new culture where one is expected to find and create product literature rather than having it given to you for formatting. That wasn't correct. I'd never asked anyone to create anything for me. All I asked for was information, granted begrudgingly, after a lot of arguing and begging in most cases. Productivity also showed is overly dependent on others for information. Imagine. But that's how you get information. You don't get it from yourself. Communication needs to adapt his communication methods to meet the demands of his job. What the hell did that mean? My plan had been to offer this review as evidence of my shining record. This wasn't as shining as I'd thought. My defense was growing weaker by the minute. Maybe they did have a good reason to let me go. Maybe I wasn't such a great employee. But after 8 months, without warning, when the phone rang shortly after 8 a.m., I wasn't expecting it. Being a government agency, I didn't expect the call until at least 10. I answered with a tentative, "Hello?" "This is the Employment Development Department." A woman's voice came back at me with a cold, bitter efficiency. She confirmed my identity just as efficiently and got down to business immediately. "Were you employed as a writer from December of 2005 until August 11th of this year?" Actually, my title was Marketing Documentation Specialist. "Excuse me?" That was my title. "That's not what your employer says." The call went on like this, the woman from the Employment Development Department questioning my every answer. Her tone was so unforgiving, so scornful. By all rights, I should not have been given the unemployment benefit. And yet, I was. A feather weight left my shoulders. I wouldn't lose everything just yet. I'd been granted a reprieve. Still, this wasn't success. It was survival. Just barely. And telling Vicky was not something I was looking forward to doing. I don't care who you are. Telling your spouse who you were hoping to have a child and start a new life with that you will get government help instead of being able to support yourself is not a prideful moment. She seemed reassured a bit, but not comforted. I know this wasn't exactly what we wanted, I told her, but I'm trying to find a job. I really am. I told her again how rotten I felt over the whole situation and how different I wanted things to be. She's been so good at providing her strength and telling me everything would be all right. But this time, she was stiff, cold, and uncomfortable with what she had to say. I know that you count on my strength, and I don't have any problem giving you that. But you know, there are things I wanted too. She spoke some more, but I couldn't hear her. An iron gate dropped between us, slamming shut. It was clear I was growing too dependent on her for support, and I'd allowed myself to become so dependent in such a short time. I was going to have to learn to shut my mouth. More importantly, I was going to have to find a job, even if it wasn't a job that would lead to what I thought of as success. I needed to do more than rely on a government check. And that's my reading of Climbing Maya. We've gone through the first 7 chapters. I've told you a little bit of the background. Now it's your turn. Head on down to Audible, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, wherever you like online. Pick up a copy of Climbing Maya, an exploration into success. Find out what happened when Vicky got a bee sting on the top of her head. Find out what happened when Tim got all drunk in the middle of downtown Ocean Beach. Find out how my friendship with Tim ended. Find out how Megan passed away and what happened afterwards, because there's always an afterwards. Ow. I just put my glasses in my eye. So, that's it for today. When I return, I will be reading from my next book in the stack of books that I have, which is The Day We Said Goodbye, about my dad's passing, my dad's funeral, and the day we said goodbye. Until next time, be good to yourself, be kind to others, and let's make this world a better place. And there you have it. You've just survived another Ken LaSalle video. For more information about new releases, projects in the works, or even stuff from the archives, head on down to kenlasalle.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and all around social media, just as long as it's called Facebook or Twitter. Thanks for your support, as always. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll be back soon with more nonsense.